When I look back at that day, it feels like the moment the world shifted under my feet, not because anything catastrophic happened, but because my heart was touched in a way I hadn't expected. My name is Linda. I'm 63 years old, and I never thought my life would be shaped so deeply by words spoken by a little boy, my grandson Ethan. Life has a way of pulling us along whether we're ready or not. One day you're young and energetic, and the next you're standing in front of the mirror noticing the silver strands in your hair, the lines around your eyes, and the aches that don't seem to go away. I had always prided myself on being independent and resilient, but after my husband, Robert, passed away 3 years ago, I felt a piece of myself disappear with him. Robert and I had been married for over 35 years. We built a life together, a home, a family, memories that stretched across seasons and years. When he died suddenly from a heart condition, I found myself lost in silence. The house that had always been filled with his laughter and his music suddenly felt like an empty shell. I went through the motions of living, cooking meals I hardly ate, sitting in the garden we once tended together, watching the seasons pass without him by my side. My daughter, Emily, and her husband, Michael, live only 20 minutes away. They tried their best to include me in everything, inviting me for dinners, birthdays, and weekends. I loved being with them, but I often felt like an outsider to their busy, joyful life. I didn't want to be a burden, so I smiled, nodded, and assured them I was fine. But inside, I wasn't fine at all. It was Ethan, my 8-year-old grandson, who unknowingly saw through the cracks in my smile. Ethan had always been a curious and sensitive child. He would sit with me on the porch swing, ask me endless questions about my childhood, and insist I tell him stories about when his mom was little. His eyes would sparkle with excitement when I described adventures from years ago. He had a way of making me feel relevant again, like my memories mattered, like I still had something to give. One Saturday afternoon, Emily called me to ask if I could watch Ethan for a few hours while she and Michael ran errands. I agreed right away. Time with Ethan was always a joy. He arrived with his backpack full of Legos, a book he was reading, and his boundless energy. I had prepared some chocolate chip cookies, just the way he liked them, and we settled into an easy rhythm of playing, baking, and laughing. After a while, we decided to sit in the living room. Ethan pulled out a photo album from the coffee table, one I hadn't opened in months. It was filled with pictures of Robert and me through the years, vacations, birthdays, holidays, little moments frozen in time. Ethan flipped through it carefully, stopping at a photo of Robert and me on our wedding day. I was only 27 in that picture, smiling with a joy I hadn't known could fade. "Grandma," Ethan said, looking at the photo, "you were so beautiful." The words caught me off guard. I laughed lightly, brushing off the compliment. "Oh, Ethan, that was a long time ago. I'm not that person anymore." He looked up at me with a seriousness that seemed far beyond his years. "Yes, you are. You're still you." My breath caught in my throat. For a moment, I couldn't speak. This child, my grandson, had just said the words I didn't know I needed to hear. "You're still you. Not you used to be. Not you were once, but you are still." Tears filled my eyes as I pulled him close. "Thank you, Ethan," I whispered, my voice breaking. "You don't know how much that means." He hugged me tightly and said, "Grandpa would still think you're beautiful too." Those words broke something open inside me. For months, I had been defined by what I had lost: my husband, my youth, my sense of purpose. But in that moment, Ethan reminded me that who I was hadn't disappeared. I was still Linda. I was still the woman who loved, who laughed, who cared, who mattered. My story wasn't over, and my identity wasn't erased by time or grief. From that day forward, I began to shift how I saw myself. Instead of dreading the mornings, I started taking small steps toward joy. I planted new flowers in the garden, baked recipes I hadn't tried in years, joined a book club at the local library, and even started painting again, a hobby I had abandoned decades ago. Each step was small, but each one reminded me that I was still capable of creating beauty and connection. Ethan and I formed an even deeper bond after that. He would come over for weekends, and we'd work on puzzles, paint together, or just talk about life. His questions always amazed me. One day he asked, "Grandma, do you think people ever stop being themselves when they get older?" I thought for a moment before answering.
No, sweetheart.
We're always ourselves. Sometimes we just forget. Sometimes life makes us feel like we're less than who we used to be. But deep down, we're always us. He smiled and said, "That's what I thought." It's funny how wisdom can come from the youngest among us. Ethan didn't realize it, but his words gave me back a piece of myself I thought I had lost forever. Months later, at a family gathering, Emily noticed the change in me. "Mom, you seem different lately," she said as we stood together in the kitchen. I smiled, looking over at Ethan, who was playing with his cousins. I guess I just remembered who I am. Life still isn't perfect. I still miss Robert every single day. But instead of feeling like a shadow of who I once was, I carry his memory with me while also embracing the life I still have. I laugh more now, I love more openly, and I allow myself to believe that I'm still worthy of joy. Ethan probably won't remember the exact moment he said those words, but I will carry them for the rest of my life. You're still you. And in many ways, that was the beginning of me truly living again.